Hello and welcome back to the Herbal Entrepreneur Conference. I am Yolanda Joy, and today I'm really excited to introduce you to Janet LeBlanc, who is the founder of Paper and Spark. Janet, I'm so glad that you can come on today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, well, this session is definitely an interesting one for me, and I'm really excited to dive into it because we're taking a little bit of a different take to a lot of the other sessions in that, yeah, you're clearly not an actual herbalist. You have a different speciality in that it's all about the numbers and revenue for you. And we're going to be getting into some revenue mapping and how to really plan out those financial numbers as a part of your business. But before we do get into the details of all of that, I would love it if you could give a bit of a more in-depth introduction as to who you are and what you do at Paper and Spark so that people can get to know you.
Of course. Okay, so like you said, my name's Janet. I'm actually an accountant. I'm a CPA here in the US, and I got started long ago, really seeking a creative outlet from my very traditional accounting job. I needed to use my creative brain in some way, shape, or form. So I got started selling handmade jewelry on Etsy back in 2011. And one thing led to another. I really loved being an entrepreneur. I loved being a part of the maker community. And I saw a need for someone to better translate the financial side of running your business, the accounting side of running your business, the numbers stuff for artists, makers, creative entrepreneurs. And that's why I started Paper and Spark in 2014. There was a lot of confusion out there and a lot of overwhelm on these sorts of topics. And it's really my goal with Paper and Spark to educate makers on these topics, because I don't want any sort of fear of your money or any sort of overwhelm related to these topics to be something that holds you back from achieving your entrepreneurial dreams. I think that everyone is capable of understanding this stuff. Sometimes we just need to hear it in a different way or see it in a different way. And hopefully that's something that we'll get to do together today. So I'm going to guide us through a process that I call revenue mapping. And I'm hoping that it's going to give you a different perspective on your numbers. I think that we tend to look at our numbers as like a reactive thing. We only are dealing with them at tax time. They get kind of a bad rep, right? But I want to show you what I hope is going to be a fun way to look at your numbers. And it's all about, like Yolanda said, planning for profit. We're going to start with what you want to pay yourself from your herbalist business and work backwards from that big dreamy goal. Whatever you want to be paying yourself for the year or for the next 12 months, we're going to work backwards from that goal and figure out what your business needs to look like in order to achieve that. I think that too many of us are not paying ourselves what we deserve. And maybe it's because you don't have clarity around what it takes to get to that number. So we're hopefully going to get clearer on that vision with your numbers today. Sound good?
It sounds amazing. I'm like all ears, ready to dive into this and really learn more. So take it away. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. What I'm going to do is share my computer screen, and I have my iPad screen on my computer screen, and I'm going to just draw and do the revenue mapping here. So hopefully you can see this okay. And this whole process, instead of like sharing slides or just talking about it, I'm just going to do one long example of a business that may look a lot like yours or maybe a bit different. But I encourage you to either do this alongside me or write down the example so you're understanding the concepts, and then do it with your own business numbers later if you need more time. But the point of the process is just to teach you these concepts. You can really recreate it for any type of business, no matter what your pay goal is going to be. But that's what we're going to do. We're just going to work through this long process so I can show you how revenue mapping works, and then you can do it for yourself. So let's get started. The first thing that we're going to begin with is just your take home pay goal. So this is what you want to pay yourself from your business for all the hard work that you are doing, right? There's no right or wrong number to use here. You may have a take home pay goal that equals like the day job that you're hoping to quit and replace your daytime job income. You may have a goal to retire your spouse or your partner. You may have a goal to provide, grocery money for your family every month. There's no right or wrong here. Just think about what your take home pay goal for the next 12 months or maybe the remainder of the year is, and then write that down. That's what we're starting with. So for my example business owner here, we're going to start with, I'm going to do everything in USD, but obviously currency doesn't matter. We're going to have a $30,000 take home pay goal. Okay. So my purpose with the rest of this process is to figure out what my business needs to look like in order to hit this 30K take home pay goal. All right. So the next little step is just, a lot of times we want to keep some cushion in our business. So if I want to pay myself 30K for the rest of the year, that literally means I'm taking that money out of my hopeful business bank account and putting it into my personal bank account, right? I probably don't want to leave my business bank account at a $0 balance. So I'm going to add some cushion in there, some like rainy day money, emergency purpose, whatever in my business. And I'm going to say I'm going to leave about 5K in my business bank account. So I have a 5K cushion. Again, no right or wrong number to this. Yours may be $200. I've seen some people say $10,000, whatever you want to do. I'm going to say 5K. That just means that 5K plus 30K is going to leave me needing $35,000 in as my net income goal. Okay. And most of you probably know that your net income is just your sales minus your expenses. And when I do this, I'm not treating the 30K, the payment to myself, as part of my expenses. So just keep that in mind if you're doing this. So after all my business sales and expenses, I need to be left with 35K in net income, right? I've worked backwards one little step so far. So from my 35K net income goal, I can use what I know about my business, if I've been running it for a while, to set a sales goal. And if you're totally new, don't worry, I'll give you some benchmarks. So what we're going to do here is use our historical profit margin percentage to work backwards from that. And if you're like, Janet, what the heck are you talking about? Profit margin percentage is just your net income, which we just defined over here a second ago. It's your net income divided by your sales. So I'm going to say that for my example business in the past, like I'll pull my 2020 profit margin percentage and I'll say it was 40%. If you're new or you want to just use a benchmark right now, or 2020 was a really funky year for your business, so you don't want to use that as your historical profit margin, most product-based businesses, like a physical product-based business, will likely have a profit margin between like 30 and 50%. If you're a service provider or you sell any sort of like digital products or that sort of thing, you're looking more around like 70%. So feel free to use a benchmark if you don't know your business's historical profit margin. Just use some sort of guideline there. For my example, I'm going to go right there in that average because I'm going to be a physical product seller here. So I'm saying I've had a 40% profit margin in the past. And you can look at your own businesses, historical ones for 2020, 2019. You can take averages of all your prior years, whatever you want to do. I don't want you to get super stressed about like using the right numbers here. Ballpark figures are fine. So now that I know my net income goal, I can get out my calculator and say, okay, my net income goal, which is 35K, if I divide that by my profit margin percentage, that is going to give me my sales goal. I used a slightly different color teal here. So now it doesn't match. That's okay. All right. And just a note for your profit margin percentage, if you're like, okay, you just like threw that metric out there, what does this even mean? A 40% profit margin percentage is saying for every dollar I make in sales, I'm keeping 40% in my pocket. I'm keeping 40 cents in my pocket. So that means that I spent the other 60 cents, right? The higher your profit margin percentage, the better, the more profitable you are. It's usually on the lower end for physical product businesses because we have such high like cost of goods sold and whatnot. So it can really vary, but generally the higher this number is, the better. But you can divide your net income goal by your profit margin percentage, and now we have a sales goal. Okay, and if you think about it, now that I have my sales goal, I can actually subtract my net income goal, and that gives me my budget for the year or whatever time period I'm doing this for. You can go and map out that budget in the same style that we're going to do your sales here. But now we know at this point in the process, okay, in order for me to pay myself $30,000, I need to end up with 35K in net income. And if I sell and spend similarly to what I've done in the past, if I'm using a past historical profit margin, that means I need to bring in about $87,500 in sales. So at every point in this process, we're going to break this down further, but at every point in the process, I want you to pause and ask yourself, all right, is this goal realistic? Based on what I did last year, is the sales goal that I just set for myself realistic or not? And there's a few different ways you can look at it when you ask yourself this question. First, if it's not super realistic, there are things that you can tweak, right? And we'll be able to tweak more as we go down this map. But right now, all we can really tweak is our profit margin percentage. Can I maybe be more conservative with how much I'm spending so that my profit margin maybe is 45% this year or 50% next year? There are things that you can think about improving or optimizing or tweaking. And you also can just say, I don't really care if this number is realistic. I want to see what it's going to take for me to hit this take-home pay goal. So let's keep going and map it out, because I think just seeing what your business needs to look like in order to pay yourself what you're hoping to pay yourself can be really eye-opening. And once we get to the bottom of the map, I think it will make a lot more sense with how you can interpret things. So we've got our sales goal. Sorry. So what I want to do next is break this sales goal up into the different revenue arms of my business. So this will look very different depending on how you're making money in your business, right? You very likely have more than one revenue stream, or maybe you're at least pondering different revenue streams. You can use this exercise that we're going to do to map out how you actually make money in your business. You can use it to map out things you're considering adding to your business to make money, to see how they would contribute. In my example here, I'm going to say that we have 3 different revenue streams in our business. And that's going to be an online shop like Shopify or Etsy or something like that, where I sell my physical products to the public. I have some wholesale relationships where I sell my products to other brick and mortar shops and they sell for me. So I have a wholesale relationship with a few different vendors. And I also do in-person events like farmers markets, shows, art shows, that kind of thing. So these are the 3 ways that I am currently making money in my business. What I'm going to do now, and what I encourage you to do, once you've kind of broken out your revenue arms, what historically have you brought in from each of these arms of your business? And if you haven't been selling for a very long time, you can use guesstimates. You can use what you're hoping is going to happen or assuming is going to happen. Again, not a stickler for like extreme accuracy down to the dollar here. But I'll know in the past when I look at my 2020 numbers, for example, that my online shop usually brings in about 60% of my sales. My wholesale relationships, my wholesale outlets have brought in about 15%, and my in-person events have brought in 25%. And, you know, I may be using some projections there because 2020, this is all hypothetical, but 2020, my in-person markets probably brought in very little because not a lot was happening in 2020. But I'm going to hope that in 2021, I'm going to be able to do more in-person markets. So I'm going to project 25% of my sales goal will come from that arm of my business. So with these little percentages, you can multiply, okay, if 60% of my sales come from my online shop this year, what's 60% of 87,000? That's going to mean my online shop goal is about 52,500. Sorry, I'm an accountant that's terrible at both math and saying numbers. You don't have to be good at math to be an accountant. That's a little secret for you out there. I'm good at a calculator. All right, so spoiler alert, I've done the math in advance so that you don't have to see me do it all on the calculator. And this is what those percentages equal when I multiply it by my sales goal. All right, so now I've got a sales goal for each platform. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. What does that mean? Now what I want you to do, this is to me like the funnest part, and hopefully I don't run out of room, but we're going to break out these sales goals into order goals and traffic goals, or different sorts of things depending on what you're breaking down here. So let's look at my online shop. If I need to bring in $52,500 from my online shop selling my physical products, how many orders, how many products do I need to sell to hit that goal? Because I'm not even sure if this is feasible. Let's say I brought in 25K from my online shop last year. I'm telling myself in order to hit my goals, to pay myself what I want, I need to more than double my online shop sales. What is that going to look like? Let's see. So what I want you to do, if you have any sort of online shop where you're selling physical products, figure out your average order value from the past, if you know it. An average order value, I'm going to do this on another little dude. Average order value is a very powerful metric that is calculated by taking your sales for any one time period and dividing it by your number of orders for that same time period. So to give you an example, let's say I had $6,000 in sales and I had 100 orders. I have an average order value of $60, right? That's how you would calculate your average order value. If you haven't been selling online for very long, maybe you're like, I don't know what my average order value is. Use an average of all your retail prices. Some like midpoint of your retail prices that you've set for your products. So I'm going to hide that guy. So for my example business, I'm going to say that my average order value in the past was $50. That is how much I showed you how to calculate it for your business, but average order value is a metric that is telling me how much the average customer spends at checkout. That's what it means. So most people, or the average customer, When they buy something from my shop, they spend 50 bucks. So if I take my sales goal for my online shop and divide it by that average order value, I now know, okay, in order to hit that sales goal I set, I need to anticipate 1,050 orders. Again, I'm going to pause. How does this feel? Does this feel achievable? Does this feel doable? If people are typically buying, I don't know, 5 things in these $50 orders, that would mean, over 5,000 products that I need to make, have in stock, have the supplies for, have the packaging for. I need to have the manpower to ship over 1,000 orders. Only you know if the number that you've gotten at this point is realistic or not. If it's not realistic, what are we going to do about it? Do we need to order help? Do we need to change our processes? The easiest, not easiest, but the most impactful thing you can focus on if this number was not realistic is this number right here. So what happens if I raise my prices? What happens if I do something to increase my average order value? If I can get my average order value from $50 to, let's say, $56, if I can increase my average order value by just $6, I'm going to be filling, see, I told you I'm bad at math, guys. I'm going to be filling over 100 orders less. I'm getting tripped up by less versus fewer, but do you see what I'm saying here? If I can increase that average order value, and there's a few ways I can do that. I could increase my prices. I could say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to offer free shipping for orders over $50 anymore. I'm going to offer free shipping for orders over $55. I'm going to encourage my people to spend that extra $5 to increase my average order value so that I can still hit the goal that I need to hit, but with a little bit less work on my part and filling fewer orders on my part. That's creating less stuff. That's shipping fewer things, packaging fewer things, listing and photographing fewer things, etc. So yeah, let's say, okay, I feel pretty happy with 138 orders now. Now we can work backwards even from that to say, how many visitors do I need to get to my online shop to get 938 orders? And we can do that with another handy metric called your conversion rate. And you've probably heard of this guy before too. But your conversion rate is a metric that tells you how many of your visitors are turning into paying customers. For e-commerce, well, let me tell you how to calculate it first. You can take your number of orders during any past time period divided by your number of visitors during that same time period to get your conversion rate. So you may need to pull your number of visitors from like Google Analytics if you're using it, or your Shopify dashboard, your Etsy dashboard. Most e-commerce platforms have this information somewhere for you to find. But you can divide your number of orders by your number of visitors, and that will get you your conversion rate. A typical conversion rate for e-commerce is between like 1% and 5%. So it's usually a pretty low percentage. And I'm going to say my historical conversion rate has been 3%. That means for every 100 visitors I get to my online site, 3 of them will actually check out. They will make a purchase and they will spend about $56, hopefully, right? So if I take my orders goal that I just set, 938, and I divide it by my conversion rate, and if you don't have a history to pull a metric from yet, somewhere between 1% and 5% is a good place to start. That's going to give me my visitors goal. So I need just over 31,000 visitors to hit my goal. So this is like the bottom of the revenue map for this arm of my business. What I'm left with now is saying, okay, what do I need to do? What is my marketing plan going to look like to bring in that many visitors to my online shop? This is when we turn the quantitative into the qualitative, right? The tangible goal into the action steps. Because if all of this rings relatively true for how business is going to go this year, if I continue to spend like I've spent in the past, if my average order value continues to be similar to what I've estimated, if I continue to convert my visitors at about 3%, then pretty much all I need to focus on to pay myself what I want from my business is to just get this many people into my shop. That is like my goal with my business now. What am I going to do? What's my plan to get 31,000 visitors to my site? Because then I'll be able to pay myself what I need. Oh, I can work all the way back up the map. So that's the bottom of this arm. The process works really similarly for pretty much any other arm of your business. The only thing that may be different is like what you're working down to on the bottom. So let's do wholesale and my in-person events real quick. I'm going to change my color. So with my wholesale outlets, I am hoping to bring in just over 13K. I may say, instead of having like an average order value per product here, I may say, you know, my wholesale minimum with my vendors is like $500 per order. They have to order at least $500 worth of product from me every time they order something. So, or you could say like, how much does a typical wholesale order go for with me? They usually spend an average of $500. Whatever metric here is going to help you break this down further is what you want to use. So that is, if I do the math, that's about 27 wholesale orders over the course of the year or the next 12 months or whatever time period we're setting our goal for here. So this is when I can say, okay, 27 orders. I need to have about 27 wholesale orders over the next 12 months. I know, you know, I have this established relationship with 5 shops already. They usually order from me 3 times a year. So I already know, like, and I'm not doing straight lines because all of this is like guesstimates kind of. I already know then that I'm going to have about 15 orders sure thing with my established shops. So I'm going to fall short by about 12. Let's say if I still need 12, that's probably about 2 orders from 6 new vendors or shops or wholesale outlets throughout the year. So if I need 6 new relationships, if I need 6 new wholesale connections, I'm going to reach out. I'm going to make it a goal to reach out to like 20 new potential shops over the next 12 months. Because, you know, if I reach out to 20 and what is that? I don't even know. What's 6 divided by 20? If an average of, if 1 in 3 of the 20 I reach out to say yes, then I'll get close to my goal here. So my point with this is I just want to give you direction on like, okay, I know I need to increase my wholesale relationships to hit this goal. What am I actually going to do to get there though? If in your experience, you know, when you reach out, when you research these wholesale shops and potential vendors and you reach out, you get some yeses, you get some nos. How many do you need to make it a goal to reach out to get enough yeses to work backwards to hit the goal that you've set for yourself? So I'm going to say I need to do 20 cold pitches or 20 pitches or whatever, however you want to call it, in order to work towards this goal that you've set with your wholesale arm. And you can do that same thing if you have like a client portion of your business, like a one-on-one services type of arm of your business. In anything where you need to like reach out to people, you can set this type of goal, or have like those one-on-one contacts. I need to have at least 50 people in my DMs or whatever to hit this goal, that kind of thing. All right. And then for events or markets, kind of the same thing. How I would look at this one is how much do I usually make at my shows? Let's say my average total sales per show historically has been about $2,000. So that means if I take the 21,875 and divide it by 2K per show, that means that I need to do about 11 events. You can do the same thing if you teach workshops or classes or those kind of things too. The same concept works. That means I need to plan to do 11 events. And then I would just work backwards from that. Like, how many have I applied for, or how many do I already have on my calendar? And then how many am I missing? Do I need to find more? Do I need to apply for more? How many do I need to apply for, etc. But that is really how I would break it down. The goal is just that you keep going, you keep working your way backwards until you get to a point where it's going to impact the daily action that you do, the daily work that you do. And I think that this, if you know this concept, how these puzzle pieces all fit together, you can really use this with any type of revenue stream in your business. You can tweak it. And then also I love using it for, like, let's say I'm thinking of some new potential idea in my business. Let's say I want to start doing, I don't know, digital products that I'm going to sell for like $9 a pop. You can use the guesstimates that you know and see, like, okay, this is going to really contribute to my overall sales goal, or this is really only going to bring in a drop in the bucket. It's not going to be worth my time. You can use the map to sort of vet new decisions in your business and see if it's going to be worth your time and effort or not. Because, like I said, the whole point of all of this is to see what it's going to take for you to create a business that allows you to pay yourself what you want. Because I think too many of us are not paying ourselves either at all or paying ourselves enough for all the hard work that we're doing. And I want you to be able to visualize with clarity what it's going to take for you to get there. So hopefully this was sort of an eye-opening but fun way for you to think about your goals, think about your business, and think about paying yourself.
Yeah, that was absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. Like, I really like the way it's all mapped out and so clear, like that first payment that you want to take, and then how you get those sales goals, and then how that's broken down as well. It makes it less overwhelming because if you've got those three arms, those different revenue streams that kind of contribute to that overall sales goal, so that it's easier to reach it, I guess, because there's different parts that are coming into it. And then, like, also it's more relatable, like, you know what you actually have to do. You have to focus on the website visitors or how many events. Like, it's more action focused at the end, and then you get to create a plan around how to get to those numbers. So it's really connecting that abstract number and how to get there, isn't it?
Right. Yeah, I think it's valuable because I think a lot of times we're like, okay, a lot of times we start with this part, like, I want to make more revenue. I want to hit this sales goal. And then you're just kind of like, how am I going to do it? And then we just start throwing spaghetti at the wall. Like, I just need to do more stuff. I need to be in all the places and do all the things. And this helps you get a little more clear on it. Okay, I don't need to be in all the places. I just need to get this much traffic to my site. You can dig further into this and see, how are people already getting to my site? Where are the converting people coming from? Like, where should I focus my time? instead of just trying to do all the things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so when people are like starting this process for themselves, is that like, would you recommend having three revenue streams, or can they kind of have as many as they want? Is it better to keep it simple? Like, or should they map out lots of different ideas and then decide what they want to focus on? Like, how would you recommend going around the process to kind of work out which arms to focus on?
That's a great question. I think there's pros and cons to everything, and it depends on your preference. It depends on how much time you have. And I think as creative brains, we all tend to want to do lots of different things and try lots of different things, um, which is fine. But I like looking at things this way. If you do this with your existing business and you already have several arms, several different revenue streams, you can go through this process and see like, oh, this arm of my business is only bringing in like 2%, 5% versus this other arm of my business. Okay, that's not necessarily wrong or bad in and of itself, but how much time are you putting in to the 5% revenue stream? Is it something just kind of like running on autopilot and it's not taking up a bunch of time or energy or money? Or is it something that you've been putting a lot of work into, like promoting or marketing that thing or creating that thing? And if you took that time and energy and devoted it to your other revenue stream that was bringing in a more substantial amount, like you'd end up getting more bang for your buck. From a numbers perspective, I think it's helpful to look at things that way so that you're using your time and energy the most efficient way. But I mean, of course, there's other qualitative things to take into consideration too. Like maybe that little 5% is very fulfilling for you, or that's your passion project, or it's something that you're hoping is going to grow. Yeah, I think running the numbers through this lens is always helpful, but it's definitely not the end all be all. It really depends what you're hoping to get out of your business and your time, right?
Yeah, yeah. But I think that the numbers part of thing is so overwhelming for people. And so having like a way to map it out and break it down so that it's less overwhelming is really, really helpful. So this tool is really cool. Um, we just talked about like the different branches of like the broad revenue streams. But when it comes to like more the would it be helpful to also map out the specific like products to work out which are most profitable and for people as well? Like the is that a kind of more in-depth view to work out like the best sellers, or in terms of the time and which ones to continue, that sort of thing as well? Do you use a similar process or is it different?
Right. That's the other thing that I love about doing this sort of mapping. You can do like a broad overview, which is kind of like what we just did, but you can also get more and more specific and like really in the weeds if you want to. You can break out a lot of us have multiple online shops, so you could break out average order value, conversion rate, and all that for different platforms like Amazon versus Etsy versus Shopify versus yourown.com. And you can also do it by product or product category. So yeah, if you dive deeper into this and you're looking at your products, I love to help people look at their product or product category by product profit margin. So, the different products you make cost you different amounts to create, right? And you may have some product that you're selling all the time, but it's bringing in like a 20% profit margin versus this other product that you sell infrequently, but it brings in a 60% profit margin. So it feels, this is like numbers versus feelings, right? It feels like you're making a lot of money from that low profit margin one that's selling all the time because it's making all these sales, but you're actually keeping more money from the other guy. So maybe if you come to that realization from like working through this kind of process, you would say, hey, I'm not going to spend my ads dollars or my marketing efforts on this guy that I'm making such a low profit on. I need to divert my attention to this other guy. And and then you'll end up having a greater impact on your bottom line, like from coming to that realization. I know that's really oversimplifying it, but yeah, I definitely think it's valuable to look at your numbers on a per product or product category basis too, for sure, to try and come to some of these feelings versus facts types of light bulb moments with your stuff, right?
Yeah, and sometimes it's like putting it out there on paper or on your iPad, however you map it out. Like it just brings more clarity, and then your eyes are opened to what's actually happening versus like those emotions versus the real what those figures are, and it is often different. Like what your experience as the business owner or your feelings about it, and what's the profitable side of things. And like you say, those factors are all important. Like maybe you enjoy being in the garden and growing the herbs, even though it's not as profitable, or like the different areas of that, or the processes that take a lot of time and that sort of thing, and labor costs. But then it's it depends on what you enjoy doing. So pulling in all those factors and making the decision based on your business is the most important thing. So I really, really like this process, and I know that you, Janet, have kind of an even more in-depth process of how like all of this works. Can you tell me a little bit about how you work with people in more detail based on this revenue mapping?
Yeah, one of the like signature programs that I offer is called Next Level Numbers, and it's like what we did here today is like the tip of that iceberg, basically just helping you walk through diving into the data, the numbers that you've gathered so far in your business, so that you can come away with these insights, learn the important metrics to look at, and then use what you know about your business from that process to set these types of goals going forward and work towards meeting them. So basically, it's just a program that helps you learn how to interpret your numbers to use them to run your business more effectively.
But that is like a super important like skill to have as a business owner. Like once we understand the numbers, it's so much easier to like focus on what we need to focus on, and ultimately like focus on the things that you enjoy doing, and make your business work for you, because that's what we're
Right.
kind of doing as business owners. We're creating our own income and being able to you know do what we love every day, but in a way that works for us. But it
Right.
can only
And get
work
paid
if the
for it.
numbers show it. So that's like just super, super important to do that. So I think it's a really cool program that you put together. So if people want to join, we will have a link around this web video somewhere. Do you have anything else that you would like to share around revenue mapping before we do wrap up?
No, I hope that y'all enjoyed this, and I really encourage you to pay yourself what you deserve, like we've been saying. The world needs more people that I think are making sustainable income from doing what they're passionate about. So I hope that this little tidbit helps you get there.